Okay, so it's 1 o'clock, so I think I'm gonna start. Um, Welcome to the Peterborough Audiocraft Festival and to my little webinar. I'm really excited. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna jump right into it. Oops. There we go. All right, so this is how to make radio using a mix of Audacity and SoundTrap. Those are the programs that I use to make stuff for Trent Radio, and I'm going to share those the skills that I've learned with you people today. So getting started recording at home is super easy and super fun, and you don't need a lot of expensive equipment, which I think there's a really big myth that you do. And honestly, even if you just have a cell phone and some earbuds, you can still make a radio show or a podcast. So I'm gonna intro Audacity now, which is so Audacity is strictly a computer program, but when I talk about SoundTrap, I'll talk about how you can use it on your phone as well as a computer. But just to know, Audacity is unfortunately only for a computer, so if you wanted to use it, you would have to have access to a computer. So recording in Audacity is a bit more technical than it is in SoundTrap, but you still can definitely try it out and play around with the different features and see how you like it. And you might find that you prefer SoundTrap, or you might find that you prefer Audacity, and either one is totally okay. So this is sort of what Audacity, or this is what Audacity looks like when you first open it. Usually you'll get a little pop-up that says welcome to Audacity. I already closed it. This is how it looks. So you have lots of options for how you want to use Audacity. You can open a file. You can see I have lots of recent files that I've used on my computer. You can play around with effects as you open up tracks and such. You could add a new track. So I could put in a mono track, and then, for example, if I want to record something, I can check here to see which microphone my computer is using, and also which speakers it's using, or headphones if you have a set of headphones plugged in, which I currently don't. But it's always a good idea to check these things before you start recording to make sure they're set to the ones that you want. You can also play around with what kind of recording channel you want to use. Right here where it says click to start monitoring, you can basically click on it, and you can see as I talk the audio levels change as I speak, and that's just sort of, you can see what your sound input is before you start recording. So you could test if I talk really loud, which I'm not going to do, but if you were to use different sounds, how would your microphone, whichever one you're using, be able to handle that. And so if you want to make a recording in Audacity, it's really simple. You just take a track, an empty track like the one that I just created, and then you go right here to this little red button. It'll say record. You can also press Shift and R like it says, and it will also start a recording. And so it's really simple. You just press the button. Usually I wait about 5 seconds just to give a little noise sample of any background noises happening around me, because I find for noise reduction it helps. And basically you can see as I'm talking there's audio waves coming up on the screen, and so you can just record your whole show like this, and you can just talk normally or do whatever it is that you do, and yeah, the track will just sort of create itself. And then when you're done, you just press the red button a second time. Oh, sorry, no you don't. You actually press the stop button, and then that's your audio. And then now you can just get to editing it, which is always super exciting. So that is my little tutorial on how to make a recording in Audacity. Oops. So yeah, that's just a little snippet on how you make a recording in Audacity. You can also import files to Audacity, and one thing I wanted to talk about was if you want to import an M4A file, you'll find that it's a bit tricky because technically Audacity doesn't support M4A files, but there is, sorry, I'm blanking on the word. There's a, anyway, you can install FFmpeg. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's an import-export library. It's an add-on. That's the word I was looking for. You add it on to Audacity, and it will allow you to open any files that Audacity doesn't support without having to like compress them to MP3 files first, because Audacity is sort of picky about file types. But if you get this add-on and install it, you're good to use it for any file format that you want to open in Audacity. So now I'm going to talk about like editing audio, so compression, noise reduction, and things like that. Audacity has a lot of tools you can use to edit audio, and it's a bit more, again, it's a bit more technical than SoundTrap is, but honestly, with a little practice, it becomes pretty simple, and you can definitely play around with all the features and stuff. And so I'm going to show a little video about that now. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about like doing compression and noise reduction and all that sort of stuff in Audacity. So this is what I usually do before I move my files into SoundTrap because I find it just to be a good way to sort of clean up the audio before I really get into the finer details of editing, I guess. I'm not sure how I want to word that, but anyway, so the first thing I usually do is like noise reduction, and so I'll just find a little section where there isn't really a lot happening, like say right here, and I'll highlight it, I'll go to Effect, I'll find the one that says Noise Reduction, I'll click it. Now you can play around with these settings as much as you want. I choose to leave them alone, but before you do anything, you do need to do this step here, which is to get a noise profile. So Audacity basically like listens to the background noises that are happening and knows what you want to cut out. So you get a profile, Audacity does that pretty quickly. Then I usually press Control A to select everything, and then I'll do Effect again, I'll do Noise Reduction again, and then you can play around with these if you want to. I choose to usually just leave them where they're at. You can preview your audio. Usually, I wait about 5 seconds. So there's a preview of the audio I just recorded. And then if you like how it sounds, you can hit OK. Audacity will run its little process, and you can see like all that noise that was here just like disappeared. And it'll have a cleaner sound now. And so I'm gonna reselect the whole thing. The next thing I like to do is a loudness normalization, which is pretty easy to play around with. Again, you can like play with the settings. You can change them, like the decibel thing here. You can do this. I'm not really sure what it does, to be fully honest, when you change the settings, but I also don't think there's anything wrong with playing around with it to find out, and maybe, that's how you find something that's like the perfect sound for your show. So I mean, I highly encourage you to like just go ham with the settings. So yeah, again, you can do a preview of the loudness normalization. Mine didn't load. Oh, I guess you can't. Well, normally you would be able to preview it, but it seems like it's not going to let me. Seems like it didn't let me do a loudness normalization. Okay, normally, if that were to work, you would have seen these audio waves sort of shrink. And you would notice like things like where it gets incredibly noisy, spiky, if you want to call it that. It would just, the decibel level would sort of be reduced. And then the last thing I like to do, and hopefully it'll work, is to compress everything. And I usually leave it, like, I tend to like Audacity sort of default settings, and so I tend to leave it just like this, but you can absolutely play around with these until you get something that you feel like is like what you want and or need. You can click on these, you can click on this. I'm not sure what happens if you click on manage, but you absolutely are welcome to figure that out. And then again, you can preview your audio. Usually, I wait about 5 seconds. So if you like how it sounds, then you just hit OK. If you don't like how it sounds, you keep adjusting. For myself, I'm just going to hit OK. Audacity runs the process. It didn't seem to change the audio waves. That's interesting. Anyway, Audacity runs the process. You'll see the change like physically appear on your screen. And then it'll have like a slightly different and personally I think a more balanced sound. Everything's sort of more equal, which is nice because then you don't have like random incredibly loud spikes like what's happening here or like over here, for example. So yeah, I just think those are really good tools to take advantage of in Audacity. Okay, whoops. There we go. So now I'm going to talk about SoundTrap and give a little intro to what it is and how it works. So it's kind of described as everywhere studio, and it's made by Spotify. And the reason it's called that is because you can use it literally on an app on your phone. You can use it on your computer. You can use it on a tablet. So it's really great for just making content anytime, any place. It has 2 main features. So you can record your audio directly on SoundTrap, like I said, and you can edit your audio directly in SoundTrap. So you can add effects, you can cut sections out, you can rearrange your audio clips like however you want the order to be. There's a lot of options for how you can edit your audio, but it is less technical than Audacity, so there are some features that you will miss out on if you're only using SoundTrap, but it definitely still works pretty well. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about recording in SoundTrap now and how that works, and I believe I have another video for showing how to record in SoundTrap. So if you want to record directly in SoundTrap, this is how you do it on a computer. Mobile is pretty similar. You enter the studio, this is what pops up. So you either click music if you're going to make music, or you click podcast if you're going to make a podcast. It really doesn't matter which one you click, to be honest. I usually just select the podcast option, and nothing really happens when you do that. It'll just be like Untitled Podcast. You can change the title, so for the sake of this, I'll call it just webinar. And then if you want to record directly into SoundTrap, you click Add New Track, and all these options come up. And so if you're just going to talk, I would just click Voice and Microphones, and then you can see your microphone settings here. Where it's coming from. You can adjust the settings, you can adjust the voice effects, which we'll talk about more further on in the presentation, but then when you're ready to start your recording, you just click this big Start Recording button, and you just talk, and that's about it. SoundTrap doesn't show the audio waves like coming up as you're talking in the same way Audacity does, but it is recording as long as you see that bar here moving along. It is recording your voice. So yeah, you can just talk, do your radio show, do your podcast like normal, and then let's say we just finished our podcast, I would click the stop button. SoundTrap will process the recording, and turn it into like a file that you can actually like listen to. So now you could like close this tab here and press play. You just talk and there's audio that I excuse me, there's the audio that I just recorded. So that's how that works. Yeah. The next thing I'm going to that happens every time. So now I'm going to talk about different features, specifically the filters that are in SoundTrap. There's like clean audio, computer mic enhancer, mobile mic enhancer, which are kind of the main ones, but there are tons and tons of them. But what I find great about these filters is they're free, and they really enhance your audio in a very specific and simple way. And so I'm going to show a video that explains that in more detail. What I'm going to talk about is SoundTrap has these interesting, let me just pull it up. SoundTrap has these interesting vocal effects, and I sort of like to, I'm trying to find the ones that are pretty good. Like this one. So I want to talk about like clean audio versus computer mic enhancer versus the mobile mic enhancer, which is buried somewhere in here. There it is. So clean audio is just plain audio. Just plain audio. Like if I play it, that's about it. SoundTrap doesn't totally plain. A computer mic enhancer is really good for if you are recording on a computer mic, like I currently am. Like the name suggests, it'll really do a lot of work to enhance those sounds for you. And as always, you can play with these things. Like if you are like, no, that's too much reverb, you can just turn it down. You don't have to go with what the preset is. But just for an example of what the computer mic enhancer sounds like, I'll just play the audio. Show the audio waves like coming up as you're talking in the same way Audacity does, but it is recording as long as you see that bar here. So you can hear there's like a lot of reverb on it. It's pretty low volume, but you can always play around with this stuff. There are further effects, I believe. Yes, this is what I wanted to show. You can also play around with like the equalizers and such, and you can just like straight up turn them off too. So if you decide like I don't want any of this, gone. Or if you want it back, really easy to get it back. And you can always just go with what the preset has. You can add extra stuff. If you want to do this and find out what it does, go for it. And just like hit play and moving along. There you go. Like so what was the other one? Oh yes, mobile mic enhancer. So the mobile mic enhancer is buried in there under all the other effects, but is kind of similar to the computer mic enhancer, but is good if you're recording your show using the microphone on like your iPhone or whatever like cell phone that you have. Sorry. So you can just like listen to it. That's about it. SoundTrap doesn't show the audio waves like come. So that's the kind of sound that it makes, and again, you can play with the effects, you can play with the equalizer, you can add things, you can adjust the volume, you could completely take off the reverb if you wanted to, you could like do this, you can so the pan will adjust like the way that it goes between like when you listen to it with headphones and you hear the audio in both your ears. So if I went like all the way this way, it would be like all the way on one side. So the more centered it is, the better, unless you want it to be all on one side. And again, you can just like, you can play with all these things. If you don't like it, you can change it, you can go back. And I highly encourage you to check out some of these other voice effects. Some of them are more for music, but I also don't think there's anything wrong with playing around and finding something that sounds right for the type of show you're doing. Coming up as you're talking the same way Audacity does, but it is recording as nothing wrong with finding out what it does. And so that's just sort of how the audio filters work in Audacity or in SoundTrap, sorry. And I think just taking full advantage of that is a pretty neat tool to have, and definitely you can really get something really cool out of it through exploring. So yeah. Okay, so one thing that I do a lot is like add music into the different radio shows that I make, especially with like my Archive Anarchy Hour show. I'm always adding in the music after the show and or after we record. And so it's really easy to add external audio to your show in SoundTrap. You can do this on your phone. You can do this on your computer. They have an import audio feature, a split region, modify region feature. Those are the three main ones that I sort of use when moving audio clips around or adding in audio or like different things like that. So I'm going to show a video now about how that works. So if you want to add like an external audio clip to your show, say like you recorded something in Audacity and you want to move it to SoundTrap, or you recorded something on Zoom, or you have a song that you want to play, a clip from another show, you just click this button here, the add new track. I'm just going to turn off the recording thing there. So you add a new track, you click import file, it will go to like files on your computer. So for me, it's gone to like my videos. I'm just gonna go to like music and just see what I have. I guess I'll just pull up this. So then it processes the file. It usually takes a couple minutes to open, but then you have full access to it, and it'll always load like right at the beginning. But you can always move things around in SoundTrap. It's really easy. You can also say you only wanted like a short part of this clip. You like only wanted the first like 10 seconds. You would just go here, press Control E to split it, and then if you wanted all of this to just like go away, you would just click it and press backspace, and it's all gone. And you have the external audio clip that you put in. So like, if I hit play, the stop button. So you have the song now, or whatever clip that you've put in, and you can edit it in any way you want. So you're still able to do things like, for example, put the computer mic enhancer on it, and just like see what happens. So those things are still available to you, and what else? Oh yes, you can also do things like reverse it, change the pitch, edit the name of the track if you want to like call it like track number 5 or something. You can also do like fade-ins and fade-outs, and you can adjust this just by pulling on it or going like this way. So if you want to have the fade-in last like only like a short amount of time, you could just like put it here and it would be a really short fade-in, and then you could just take a moment to like listen to it and how it sounds. So those are the options available to you when importing audio into SoundTrap. Okay, so if you make a mistake, which is what I'm going to talk about now, it's super easy to go back and correct it in SoundTrap. So if you like accidentally delete some audio, or you make a recording you don't want, or you move something over and you're like, actually, I don't want it there anymore, it's really quick and easy to go back and fix those mistakes. And I'm going to show a little video about how that works. So let's say you did something in SoundTrap and you didn't like it, or you didn't mean to do it. Like, okay, let's say I accidentally just deleted that and it's all gone. I promise you there's no need to panic. It's super, super easy. There's two ways you can recover it. You can either click edit and click undo delete, or I'm just going to delete it again just to show you. You can also press Control Z on your keyboard and it will come back. So if you accidentally delete something or move something where you don't want it, it's really easy to fix your mistakes in SoundTrap. There we go. Okay. So adding final details in SoundTrap is very easy. SoundTrap will mix the show for you, or you can take the time to sort of fine-tune things on your own. So I'm going to show how that works now. Just like was previously mentioned, SoundTrap does have a feature to mix your show for you, which I'll show you now. It's so simple. Let's say this is your whole show. You're super happy with it. You're like, this is exactly what I want to like put on the radio or upload to like a Spotify or an Anchor FM or wherever you put your show. So you click save. You let it process, and this can unfortunately take a while, especially for longer shows. But while it's processing, I'll sort of tell you, basically after this happens, SoundTrap starts to mix the show for you, and you'll see it happen up here. Man, yeah, so it can take a while to save your project. Don't panic if it is, just don't turn off your computer or close your laptop or anything like that, because then you will, yeah, you might lose your project. So once it's totally saved, awesome, here we go. Once it's totally saved, it's just mixing. You technically don't have to do anything else from here, but you can absolutely go through with the various features in SoundTrap and fine-tune things. So for example, like going back to the equalizer, maybe you feel like the mid frequencies are not right and you feel like they need to be higher. So turn them all the way up, or whatever like you think needs to be done. Like you can absolutely go through and make little changes and add little things, and maybe you're realizing you need this brighter thing. I don't know what it does, but maybe you realize that you need it. And now you're like, my show is perfect. You listen to it, and you're like, that is perfect audio. That is what I want for my show. So at that point, you're basically done. And SoundTrap will mix your show for you regardless of whether you do or not. So when you save it again, you do unfortunately have to wait for it to mix before you can download it. Yeah, it's just kind of the one unfortunate thing with SoundTrap is sometimes you do have to wait a while for this to happen. Sometimes it can take like 15 minutes or longer, unfortunately, but it'll just kind of make sure you have a nicely put together show. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about how to download your show from SoundTrap. I did sort of already touch on saving it, so I won't talk too much about that. But as always, when you save it, you can come back to it later. So like you could start editing it and then be like, I'm going to go do something else. And as long as you save it, everything that you've worked on will still be there when you come back. And that's the same for your computer or your mobile device. The options to save are the exact same and it will always still be there. If that goes across both platforms, so you can also edit on your computer at one time and then maybe you're out somewhere and you want to still edit, like maybe you're on the bus, you can like go on your phone and still have access to that same file that was on your computer.
And downloading is super easy as well. So I'm going to show now how you can download your show to have a saved copy.
We sort of already talked about like how to save your show, but we didn't talk about how to download it. So there's two ways that you can download it once it's finished mixing. You can just click this button right here, and it'll download just an MP3 file of your show. But if you go to File and Export, you have lots of options. So you can do MP3, you can do a WAV file, you can do these types of files if you want any of these. I don't know how they work, to be entirely honest, but if you're somebody who knows how they work and wants your show to be saved to your computer in that format or to your phone in that format, go for it. This is pretty much the same on mobile. You have the same options to export your audio and save it to your phone. If you are using a mobile device to record, or like an iPad or anything like that. But yeah, you basically just choose how you want to save it. So let's say I want to save it to an MP3 file. I just hit export, and it'll download to my computer, and then I can just like click on it and play it, I imagine. So you see it.
You just talk and
open up, and that's like your whole show. Yeah, so that would be your show, and at that point it's done. It's been mixed. You've made it through. You just made a whole radio show at this point, and I mean, that's an amazing thing. You should give yourself a pat on the back if you got this far. So yeah, that's how you can download your show when it's complete, or even when it's not complete, if you just want to download like a demo copy or something, or a certain clip. That is how you can do that. Yeah.
So I'm just sort of wrapping things up now. I do apologize because I know I've gone like a couple minutes over. So thank you for sticking around. So my final like tips and tricks for you are to record in a quiet space. Recording in a space that doesn't have background noise is just helpful. It makes your audio more clear. Using earbuds or headphones will make sure you don't get unwanted feedback or echoes or anything like that. So you can use earbuds, headphones, a Bluetooth pair, whatever makes you comfortable. And trust your ear. So if you think something sounds bad or wrong, it probably does. And you probably know what sounds you want and what you're looking for. So just trust yourself. And if something doesn't sound right, like, then it's okay to be like, I want to change this. And if something sounds perfect, it's okay to be like, I want to keep doing this. Test your recording setup before you make your entire show, because it's really disappointing if you make a whole show and then find out the audio was terrible and not really usable. So make like a short, like 2-minute clip that you can just listen to before you start making your show. And then you can make sure like your mic and everything is all set up correctly, and then you know that you're ready to go. My other tip is it's totally okay to write down things like ideas, notes, scripts, whatever, before you start. I do it all the time. It's good for if you need just a little extra help remembering ideas, or things that you like when you're editing. Like maybe you realize, oh, I really like this setting and I want to use it all the time. Make a note of it. Totally okay to do that. And I think the most important thing is just to, whatever you're doing, have fun. You don't have to be totally serious when you're making a radio show. Totally just enjoy yourself and experiment and try new things and do things that scare you and have fun with it. Yeah. So I want to thank everybody for taking the time to be here today. And I don't know if anyone has any questions. I know we're a couple minutes over, so we don't have to do that. But yeah, thank you anyway for coming out today.
We have some time for some questions if you're good to stick around for a little bit, Grayden. Folks can use the raise hand button in Zoom, and I can activate your microphone or send questions in by the chat. I have a question, but first of all, thanks, Grayden, for showing us these new tools. I had never heard of SoundTrap before. Do you have any tips for like recording at home if you're just using a phone? Like, do you put it in front of you in any way or close to your mouth at all? Do you have any tips for getting a good sound out of your computer or your phone?
Yeah. So if you're gonna use your phone, I'd say make sure that it's somewhere where it's pretty still and not being moved around constantly, because it will pick up noises if you're like constantly moving it, and it'll change like the sound that it's getting. So if you can just like put it like on a table in front of you or something and just like speak clearly, and like don't speak so loud that your audio is distorted, but speak clearly and loudly enough that your phone can hear you, and it's totally okay to like do a test recording and listen to it and be like, oh, maybe I need to sit closer, and figure out what works for you.
Yeah, thanks. That makes a lot of sense. I'm not seeing any other questions from anyone, so let's just wrap it up.
All right. Thanks for coming, everybody.